will have an archive version of this if you want to watch it again. So my name's Kyle Dine. I'm the CEO and founder of Equal Eats. I have multiple food allergies ever since I was a little one to peanuts, tree nuts, egg, seafood, and mustard. I think I'm growing out of the egg allergy, which has always been one of the toughest ones for me, especially with travel. I'm a co-admin with Ali Bond of the Allergy Travels Facebook group, a wonderful community. I'll tell you about that in a minute. I'm a musician. I've done a lot of traveling around the world with music. My favorite country being going to the USA. I've done a lot of tours down there. I'm Canadian, and I live most of the year over in Europe in Slovenia. So this is why this topic, Europe with food allergies, is near and dear to me, as I live it every day, the little idiosyncrasies of being in the EU and all of the laws. I've traveled, I don't count the number of countries I've been to. I've been around, and so I've lost count, but been everywhere. I haven't really gone to any of South America yet, but that's kind of next on my list of starting to dip down there. I've got a trip to the Dominican Republic next week where I'm going to start the Spanish, start going on in that direction and see if I can get further. And happy to be joined today by Karina Montagni. Karina, you want to introduce yourself?
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Karina. I'm the marketing manager at Equal Eats. As I mentioned before, I live in England in the UK. My connection to food allergies is through my son. He's 12 years old and he's had severe food allergies his whole life. He's severely allergic to peanuts, tree nuts, sesame, fish, and shellfish. And also, when he was younger, he also had allergies to milk, egg, and soya as well. My daughter has oral allergy syndrome, and they both have asthma and environmental allergies as well. So I've got some experience.
Yes, do you ever? Thank you, Karina. And we just come from different vantage points, which is really neat. I'm an individual with food allergies. Karina is a mom with a wealth of experience traveling with her children. So happy to help you today. And I know that we have people on here that have traveled all over the place. So feel free to help each other. And I know we have some real experts on here. Welcome, Ellen. I know you know this world pretty well with food allergies and celiac. So just excited to see some familiar names here too. Just a tiny brief bit about Equal Eats because that's what brought us here. So we create products to help people communicate, to bridge language barriers all over the world. We have currently 52 languages, but soon we're going to be at 58 in the next couple of weeks. We're adding Punjabi and Nepali and a few others. So very exciting. We keep on growing as people keep on requesting more languages, which is great to see that people are pushing into new territories with food allergies. We do a whole slew of products. We have plastic cards, which are very durable, like the credit card. We have an app on iOS and Android where you can just toggle through languages, as well as digital PDFs where you can just print as many copies as you want. When I started Equal Eats, it was important to me that this is incredibly accurate. That was number one and taken seriously. So we use professional translators. We have then expert proofreaders who check everything. And I just went through this process last week, so it's very fresh. We found that there's still some discrepancies in translation. Some are a little bit too technical in terms of being understood by maybe an 18-year-old server in Cambodia. So we do native speaker reviews just to make sure it really is accurate and makes sense and can be understood fully. So we don't do AI or any of this. We're a very boutique business in terms of providing a niche product that we do it right. If you haven't joined the Allergy Travels group, there's the link in the chat a little bit up there. It's a really great resource just to crowdsource. I haven't been to everywhere, nor has Karina, but if you want to ask 26,000 people what is Taiwan like with food allergies, go there. It's fantastic to just kind of crowdsource. All right, so let's just jump in terms of Europe. We've done the polls already. And then we'll get right into the questions afterwards. So a couple facts on Europe that we'll get through on labeling, restaurant, and overall state of awareness and We'd love to get your thoughts and opinions on this too. But in terms of EU labeling laws, the main difference between if you're joining us from North America um, is the number of priority allergens. So they have 14 in Europe, and UK is the same, correct, Karina? It's the same UK.
That's right.
So there's some differences in now in the US, obviously there's sesame that's been added. That's also in Canada. That's part of the EU, as well as what are the different ones? It is um, lupin, celery, mustard, and they break out crustaceans and mollusks. I think that's the main differences, correct? And with this, with the EU labeling law, what one of the things I really enjoy being in Europe is that they need to have emphasis on these allergens. So most typically, you'll see these allergens on food label in bold, so they really do stand out. With precautionary allergen labeling, so the may contain or made in a facility, unfortunately for the whole world, it's the same. This is voluntary, so you still need to be very cautious about products that you're not sure about. There's no black and white guide to what needs a may contain statement or what does not. So for me, to just be honest, I'm very hesitant in Europe about pre-packaged goods. Uh, there's not a chocolate other than Kinder that I have found to be safe for me. It's very hard to find chocolate. If it says most have a may contain nuts or peanuts, if it doesn't, I'm hard to believe for me. So I'm very hesitant. I really do stick to very plain things around a grocery store. I go to one almost every day for lunch. I get a salad. I go to a fresh counter where I talk to somebody and I can order things there, or a bakery, meat, dairy. So I kind of stick to the perimeter, or buy very basic things that I feel good about. But I would just provide caution there in terms of it is different. Karina, do you have anything to add about prepackaged goods?
Some of them, when we've been in Europe, for example, when we were in Denmark recently, we recognized some of the brands like Old El Paso wraps, and that would be, we would then, trust the labels on that, and that would be okay. So we'd stick to some familiar looking foods. We wouldn't really try anything new or unusual.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting. You go around the world and just the products that are familiar to you in one place may not be safe in the next place. And I feel like I've just gone on a worldwide tour to find some Smarties, which are like these candies, chocolate candies in Canada that I can eat. They're done by Nestle in a safe place. Not so in the EU and the US. I don't even think they exist. I think Smarties are like a hard candy. So I got my Smarties this week and I feel really great. It takes months for me to get some safe chocolate, it seems. Rachel, great question. Sesame inclusion has been terrible, had terrible intended consequences in the US. Is that happening in the EU or UK as well?
No,
Rachel,
not
yeah,
in the UK.
how so? Sorry, Karina, go ahead.
Oh,
Oh,
you want me
sorry.
to explain? When the law went into effect in 2023, I think it was more stringent perhaps than because it was newly added. They tried to be more stringent about the cross contact. So what ended up happening is corporations decided we don't want to follow those cleanliness rules, so they just added sesame to the ingredients of all breads. Like there's literally one brand of bread and one brand of bun I can purchase now, and they're not, national brands either. So it's, yeah, I mean, he can't eat a sandwich anyway or a hot dog or a hamburger. I mean, or we can ask for no bun, but yeah, so it's like great that they have to put it in bold, but it has meant that they're claiming it's in everything now.
Yeah, I've heard about that, Rachel, and sorry to hear. I would say the one thing about the EU is that the the priority allergens 14 has been in existence for I don't know when this started, but as long as I can remember that this is these allergens are very commonplace to be labeled appropriately. So there's not such a transitionary period going on with these over there. And the other thing is that I would say, and Karina, correct me if I'm wrong, but celiac disease, the awareness and prevalence in EU is it's very top of mind. And there are a lot of breads and products that are very focused on celiac, gluten-free. And not to say that's comparable to sesame, but you are having brands, a lot more brands I find that are aware of labeling because of that. So I know brands like Char and others in Europe provide a lot more of a breads and bakery products that are labeled correctly, that do a good job with all allergens. Karina, do you agree?
Yeah, that's right. And I can understand, Rachel, what it's like having a sesame allergy and the difficulties in finding bread that's safe. I remember being in Spain and we couldn't find any safe bread at all, except one loaf, a random loaf we found in a freezer. And also in Denmark as well, it's tricky to find bread. We did manage to find one loaf, but we also would buy and bring with us wraps as well, which are quite easy to pack and they pack flat and they're long life as well, so they can last for the duration of the trip. And that's one of our little hacks to get around the bread situation. So we're not, when we get somewhere, we're not desperate to find sesame free bread. We've already got something where we can put a sort of sandwich together for my son.
That's a great point, and it reminds me, Karina, of like my backcountry camping trips that are coming up. Wraps, whether you're going across the world or going deep into the woods, they're indestructible. And they're great for allergens. Um,
They're
so
brilliant. I'm going to pop a link in the chat as well, the ones that we get, because they do have them around Europe as well, and we're able to find them in some of the supermarkets. So I'll just do that in a second.
nice. Maybe that'll be our August drop-in camping with food allergies. Shift gears. In terms of the restaurant law, there was a groundbreaking law back in 2014 that really set the tone in the world in terms of how restaurants can handle allergens. I know that they've tried to do this in California, and I haven't been up to date of what has happened since, but I think it's going through some waves of resistance, and hopefully it's a starting point in the US and North America. In the EU, since 2014, they need to tell you. If you go into a restaurant, it is your law-given right to know if there are any of these 14 allergens in the food on the menus. So there's two ways that this can be done. One is this information is on the menu itself. It's written. Sometimes you'll see this as like a legend at the start or back of a menu. A equals peanut, 2 equals tree nuts, and you'll see little markings on menu items. Or the other option, if it's not on the menu, is that they need to tell you verbally. So they need to have the information at hand in a binder somewhere where they can actually tell you face to face, this is okay, this does not have it, etc. So if you don't see it on a menu, don't get discouraged, and just know that they have this. They are liable to have this information, so you should ask to get it. I really love seeing it on a menu personally. It gives me a starting point where I already kind of, with allergies, we all know you see a menu and you're already kind of like, all right, there's 25% here that I should actually focus on. The rest, I'm not even going to spend my time looking at. So it whittles it down even more for me when I start to see these little numbers. This contains, this doesn't. And it gets me to a kind of top 3 items that I could consider very quickly. And then I can ask my questions, which is still really important. You don't trust the menu completely. Things can change. Really important to still have that conversation. With the EU, with everything, nations within the EU have flexibility. So there might be some differences, especially if you're going to non-EU countries. So be cognizant of where you're going. I went to Bosnia this March for a ski trip, and it was different. It's not in the European Union, and I had to just kind of reset and make sure that where I'm going, the restaurants we went to, a little extra caution for sure. Vivian shares, my daughter was working at a restaurant in London as a server. The practices in the restaurant and kitchen are quite strict and taken very seriously. Now, thank you for adding that. Well, another Canadian. Thanks, Vivian. I'm over in Kingston. Would love to know where you're at. Karina, when I was in London last month and we met up for this trade show, it does seem like it's a heightened level in the UK. And do you notice that when you're in, Denmark compared to UK? What are the differences and why?
I think that generally when we're eating out in London and Hertfordshire in England and Scotland as well, there's good awareness in the UK, I would say, for food allergies. Certainly, there's a lot more in the UK than when we visited France. We found that definitely harder to navigate. And yeah, I think, and also there's quite a lot of good chains in London and in the UK as well, which are very allergy aware. And if anyone's interested and visiting London or the UK, I can just pop some good chains here in the chat as well, which are allergy aware.
And the one thing I noticed in the UK when I was there last month is the wait staff prompted me to tell them about my allergens very often. We're like, hey, does anybody here have a food allergy? Well, in fact, I do. And I really love that where they start off with it as part of their training. So it's very top of mind. I have had an experience or two in the UK where they asked me to sign some type of document acknowledging the risk uh, of the kitchen that there might be cross contact, and I was okay with that. And for me, it started a conversation about what are the risks? Can you tell me why I'm signing this, relieving you of all any type of liability? But for me, it's just understanding it is a corporate precaution, and it really did help me have a good conversation with the wait staff. Um, Before we get into state of awareness, a question from Lisa, and feel free to keep these questions coming. We're just kind of keeping it loose. My daughter's moving to France. Wow, Lisa, that's huge. Very exciting for your daughter. I'm sure that has mixed emotions for you. She has a peanut allergy. She's fine eating prepackaged foods that say may contain peanuts here. Will she be okay eating these foods there? Can I be honest in that I have peanut allergy, a tree nut allergy, and I have had a lifetime of growing up in the 80s. I'll start with that. Growing up in the 80s and 90s with allergies, I had grandparents that just said, it's okay. This is just a legal disclaimer. It's all right. But I have to tell you, I have had quite a few reactions to may contain. I've had may contain where there wasn't reactions, but it was the ones where I had reactions that scared me. It really scared me because it's not planned on. It's for me, it feels like Russian roulette, and I've cut them completely out of my life. And from the studies that I've dug into, they have done one incredible study. I should get the link ready for this, where they found between may contain, made on shared manufacturing equipment, made in a facility, all of these different disclaimers, there's really no difference in terms of the actual risk. They still found prevalence of peanut protein to be pretty much the exact same, no matter the warning label. It is essentially a marketing statement that they put on packages, but there is a risk, and that is something for me. Even if it's 1 out of 100 products that I eat say may contain, I don't want that one just to surprise me when I'm at a business meeting or whatever. So that is your comfort level, and for me, I know peanuts are bad, and I don't want to go down that direction. Is it different in France in terms of may contain? Is there more prevalence of peanut protein in a product like that? Who knows? It's really a gamble. So that's up for you and your allergist to determine what's the level of severity and whether you're comfortable with it or not. But for me, I'm not going there. Hopefully that's helpful. That's just my own personal perspective. Karina?
I wanted to add as well, my son has a peanut allergy, also tree nuts as well, and we avoid all may contains as well. I mean, that is a discussion that we've had with our allergist, and due to the severity of my son's allergies, we avoid all may contains because they actually can contain traces of peanut or tree nuts as well. And also, there's been some really interesting research into different products. And if it's chocolate, for example, it's very, very difficult to clean the lines where they're produced. So there's a really high chance that there could actually be traces of peanut or tree nuts within the chocolate as well. It's very difficult to clean. So there's certain products that are probably more likely to contain traces than others as well. But for us, we avoid all may contains.
Yeah. I remember eating Rolo chocolates, and I still see them. I remember eating them and having no problem until I did have a problem. There was the one time, and now I just I see all these products I used to eat with may contain, and I've just it's been a mind shift for me, and I found that just getting into research helped, and just having that reminder of that reaction or two or three that did happen. But again, it is your own personal thing. Um, all right, I'm gonna jump into a couple more slides, and then let's just jump into questions fully. State of awareness. Um, Overall, it depends on your country. I've found that places like the UK, as we said, is fantastic. I found Finland to be incredible, but mostly for celiac and vegan. So country by country, you're going to see different conditions, dietary conditions, getting different treatment. But I have found overall there's a good state of awareness. I don't think it's the same as North America from what I've found. People know more, I would say, in North America, the severity of a peanut allergy. UK being the exception, but as I go into different countries, Slovenia, Croatia, you name it, allergies are absolutely, there's awareness, but I'm not sure if it's at that level of, oh, this is so severe. So sometimes I find that onus is on me to really say, this is not an intolerance. This is not something I'll just get a little stomach thing. This is really serious. And that's why I find that Equal Eats cards can help in just presenting this. This is a big thing. Please take it seriously. So you do have these laws in restaurants, which are great, but is the food service training there to really back it up and give it teeth, that there's great cross contact procedures in the kitchen? No, we don't know that is not part of that overall law. It is just labeling allergens. So you still need to have those conversations. I haven't seen a lot of good data in terms of overall prevalence rates in Europe. I don't know anybody in Slovenia over the course of my time there that has a severe food allergy that is Slovenian. It's just have not come across that versus my life in North America. It seems like everybody I know has a food allergy. So hard to say what the prevalence rates are, but overall, just be aware that they might not be as aware over there.
I found when we traveled to Denmark in May, they were absolutely amazing with my son and his food allergies. And there was just brilliant awareness, and everyone was so friendly and polite and welcoming. And we didn't feel like an inconvenience, or it didn't feel stressful. We were able to have really great conversation around what's safe and what wasn't. And we loved it so much that we definitely go back to Denmark. It was amazing, really great allergy awareness there.
Yeah. Rachel, I'm going to get to your question about plane rides in a second here, because I find it's a great transition between the checklists, which we have some. I think maybe Karina, you could post the direct link so you can just print out these as many as you want. And I find, I've got a trip coming up in a couple of days, and I am literally going through this right now. Not only do I not want to forget any essential things to enjoy my trip, but just, to make sure that I've got enough epinephrine with me, that my insurance is in place, to save snacks. This is something that I'm always the night before, because for me, flying on an airplane, I don't eat airline food. I don't bank on having a safe meal on the flight. I don't even think this flight is going to offer a meal. I'm not sure. So for me, it is really important to think through my food, and not just for my trip to the airport, which unfortunately where I am, it is a big trip just to get to Toronto, but to go on a plane, a day of travel. And what if something happens where I don't get to my intended destination right away? I want to make sure that I've got some more backup snacks that can keep me afloat. So personally, I love granola bars. I have safe granola bars I always bring with me. I make the most exquisite sandwiches. They're amazing. I'm really proud of them. But it makes me excited when I get on a plane to eat my sandwiches. When everyone's getting chicken or pasta, I'm no thanks. I've got my own amazing food, and it's way better than your chicken or pasta. So for me, that's really important. I just don't even want the headache or stress on a flight of wondering, is this safe for me? I know it's safe, and I'm just going to enjoy my flight, watch my shows, be in my zone. So do airlines make accommodations, or do we need to pack our own food? Rachel, up to you. I would, packing your own food takes out that stress. Um, will they make accommodations? Yeah, they have special meals. They have celiac meals on board, halal meals, kosher meals, so they can make some type of accommodations. I don't know about peanut nut free. You're probably going to hear them say we can't guarantee, which kind of leads you right back to the maybe I should just make my own meal. But up to you. Sam, thanks for sharing. I always pack my own food. If you have a doctor's letter explaining your allergies, you won't have restrictions on taking liquids and other restricted items. Sam, that's really excellent to hear. Have you had that where they challenged you about liquids at security and then you presented a letter and they let you through? It's very encouraging.
We also take our own food on the plane as well. It's just it removes removes the stress, and I know what my son's eating, and we just pack a lot of food and a lot of snacks. And also there are some airlines as well which are now starting to stock some top 14 allergen free snacks, which are Virgin Atlantic, Vueling, Iberia, and KLM, and they are stocking Creative Nature snacks, and they are top 14 allergen free. So there is more awareness, and there are changes happening with airlines and the airline industry and food allergies, but still, certainly at this point, I always pack my own food for my son.
That's great. And Karina, I'm curious, we haven't talked about this yet, but did you see the story last week about our friend Dan from May Contain and I think
That's
he went viral.
Yeah, millions of views.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was
yeah,
in the
that's
New
right.
York Post, all these different papers, and essentially he recorded himself on an airplane asking for an announcement to let other passengers know that he has a peanut allergy. And it sparked a great debate across the world of whether that's asking too much or that's just right, but essentially letting other passengers know to be mindful that someone on this flight has a peanut allergy and politely requesting for them to refrain from eating that allergen. So of course you can imagine the debate that ensued with that. And long story short, from my perspective, um, there is no black and white policy for most airlines about what they're going to do to accommodate you. You can ask. Some will give you a buffer zone. Some will do an announcement for you. Some won't. It's not going to be a cookie cutter across the board. So you do need to advocate for yourself, which I'm proud of Dan. That's what his comfort zone is. And he's taken a lot of slack from it. But it made his flight a lot more successful for him. Do I ask for an announcement for myself? No, I personally don't, because I feel like I can control my area around me. I ask people to refrain from eating the peanuts if they bring them out. I'll buy them a drink. I'll do what I have to do. So it is really up to you and your comfort level. So I do applaud him for putting himself out there, and I feel bad about the amount of negativity that he's received since, but it at least grew awareness for the condition and some of the accommodations that can be done. All right, so we'll get into just open Q&A now. That's it for slides. I think we've already kind of been doing open Q&A with some rough slides along the way. So yeah, we'll just open it up for the rest of our time together. We'll try to answer as best as we can. And I'm already seeing everybody answer each other's questions through chat, so feel free to keep that up. Um, I'm going to jump around here. Thank you, Ellen. So glad that you joined us, Ellen. Even when a meal is requested with an airline, I know so many people where the airline forgot their meal, right? And nothing, I've seen those stressful situations where a celiac meal was requested and somehow that they didn't get the memo and there is no celiac meal on the flight, right? And then it's like, well, where's my meal? It's a great idea to just have a backup plan and not bank on that meal. Thanks, Alan. Lisa asked, and please keep the questions coming. We're going to do rapid fire, as many as we can. And even we'll just get discussions going here. Lisa said, I know it's quite specific, but do you have any experience with peanuts in restaurants in France? My allergist said that he's had people who said that peanuts were just lumped in with nuts and they were not very aware. His experience was 20 years ago, so I was curious on your opinion. Karina, have you been to France lately?
Yeah, so we went to Bordeaux last year, and as I mentioned, my son has peanut and tree nut, sesame, fish, and shellfish allergies. And I know that in France they do tend to cook with peanut oil, and also I think there, I would say out of the countries that we visited in Europe, we found it hardest to eat out in France. There was definitely less awareness, and I think sometimes if you ask for changes to be made to the food or without, it can seem to be a little bit offensive. I think the French are very proud of their food, and they are definitely, in my experience, they're not as accommodating as some other countries in Europe. So it is, yeah, it's interesting. But I think like in terms of um, managing with peanuts in France, it's really helpful having an Equal Eats card because you can actually specify and make sure that there's no peanut oil being used and where else you could find peanuts. So I think that helps as well. If somebody was less aware in a restaurant and then handing over the card, that could clarify that. But yeah, I definitely found less awareness in France for nuts.
Thanks for sharing that, Karina. I haven't been in 20 years, so I'm kind of in that same boat. I don't know personally. Um, all right, next. Rachel asks, wondering about long plane rides where food serves have flown. I would definitely not have been able to eat either meat or veggie options due to accompanying sauces. Do airlines make? I think we've been through that with sauces. And thanks for your answer, Sam. Always allowed to take food and beverages that exceed 100 milliliters. Soups, fruit pouches, dairy, free milk. Keep that doctor letter handy, both for security and quarantine. Excellent. Thanks, Sam. So having that doctor's letter, I know with Allergy Travels Group, we put out a poll who has been asked for a doctor's note at security, and less than 1% have been asked for some type of doctor's note, mostly for epinephrine or adrenaline. But having a doctor's note, not only just for that, if they do ask about why you have epinephrine, but why you have the food in quantities above a certain amount can be very handy too. Thank you, Sam.
I've just included in the chat there. This is for the UK. It's the British Society of Allergy and Clinical Immunology, their medical authorization for travel form, which is really helpful. And it allows you to take on your, if you get questioned, you can show that you're taking your medicine and you know your liquids and things like that as well. So there might be an equivalent in other countries, but this is what I use in the UK.
And I am so glad that we have Ellen on the call. Ellen, I hate to center you out here, but we have you as a resource because you're just fantastic. And if I'm missing anything, please feel free to unmute and just chime in. But Ellen runs glutenfreevacations.com, travel agent that helps people with celiac disease successfully navigate the world. So really happy to have you on here. And maybe I'll put a link on to your website, or feel free, Ellen, to put it in the chat. But great point. I feel that there's a lack of training on celiac disease. when people go to restaurants, instead of just saying I've got celiac disease, calling it more like a gluten allergy to have it taken more seriously. So Ellen's been debating using allergy cards instead of celiac cards for those who cannot eat gluten. What are your thoughts on Europe, specific countries in Europe? Should they say I have celiac disease or I'm allergic to gluten? This is a great question. And I remember starting up Equally, it's one of the most important people that I connected with early on. Two people was Chef Joel Schaefer and Chef Keith Norman. And they are two just giants in the world of food service and catering for people with dietary restrictions. I asked them this question specifically, and both from the back of house of kitchen said 100% call it celiac disease, and only for the reason that places that have the training, that know their stuff, they have different procedures. They want a spade to be called a spade. They will take it as seriously as a food allergy. They know what it can do. However, you do have these places that aren't aware, and you are grasping at, please just take it seriously, as serious as you can. So from what I've seen in Europe is that there is a heightened awareness of celiac disease. And from the people in my family that have celiac disease, I've seen it been taken more seriously than my food allergy in Europe at times, where they get it, they get celiac. And then I had to explain I have an allergy, and it's almost like, is that like celiac? Like, no, it's yes and no, it's different. So I would say that in Europe, from what I've experienced, there's a heightened sense of awareness for celiac, and to call it celiac disease. Karina, what do you think?
Um, so most of my experience was around food allergies, but I have heard that recently as well about some people using that they've got an allergy because they feel that it's they want their celiac disease to be taken more seriously. But also, I know that having spoken to a lot of people more recently in the community with celiac disease, and know that there is quite a lot of awareness in Europe as well. And yeah, so I would agree with Kyle.
So Ellen, it's kind of
Kyle,
a
it's Kyle, it's Ellen. That's great to hear. And it's just it's just different country by country, even like in different areas of the Caribbean that I send, clients to. At the end of the day, they just want to have safe food. So, just trying to make sure that they're communicating it correctly in each country, or, whatever, the training might be in that area. So that's great to know that you're seeing. I know in Europe, I've heard that, there's more of an understanding with celiac disease, but again, just debating, the correct cards and everything to give everyone.
thanks, Ellen. Just looking at our celiac card, it is essentially the same as our wheat allergy card. Um, very, very similar wording, very similar, same, call out in terms of the bulleted list of what foods to avoid, what gluten can be found in, or wheat. So it really does come down to, do you think the wait service staff in this country are going to have awareness of the word allergy or celiac disease? But the message is the same in terms of what is the content on the card. It is pretty much the exact same of what to avoid. So it does come down to, is there a trigger word for a food service worker? Is it celiac? Is it allergy? And it just comes down to country by country and awareness. But I would say overall awareness of celiac in Europe is strong. It's very strong. You have countries like Italy, where most of our cards, one of our top countries of cards sales is for Italian. People get time off from work if you have celiac disease. You get tax benefits to buy gluten-free foods. The awareness is way higher in a country like Italy. So there's encouraging places like that, but then again, as you said, places in the Caribbean may not be so. Thanks, Alan. I think the level of celiac awareness in the UK also depends on how severe you are. Okay. And then next, I remember you mentioning earlier that you bring granola bars on planes. Are there any brands of granola bars, snacks you recommend that are allergy-free and possibly fairly healthy? Lisa, I can't remember where you're from. Are you Canadian or American? Either way, I'll give you kind of Canada. Okay. Um, President's Choice, I love. That's a brand that you can find at Loblaws or No Frills. I use them a lot. Quaker in Canada has different manufacturing facility than that in the US. So Quaker granola bars, I love. The chocolate chips are fantastic in them. And then you have some very great universal brands like Made Good that I think are across the States now as well. And excellent. A little bit pricier, but excellent granola bars, granola balls, you name it. Other than that, oh, I forget healthy option. What there's a green box that you can find. I can't remember the brand, but if you go into, I find bulk No Frills to be great. Loblaws is a great store where you can find a lot of options, and even Freshco, Metro, whatever grocery store. I find Canada has a lot of great options. The US, I find it a lot harder to find granola bars. And I'm looking for more of those specific brands like Made Good, more of the free from section than what you would find in your normal lunch bag granola bar section. But if anybody knows some, please put them in the chat. I'd love to hear. All right, Carolyn says, can anyone share thoughts on any experiences in Ireland and Germany? We have multiple allergies in our family: milk, peanut, tree nuts, and sesame. And one last thing, for Europe, if you're looking for safe granola bars over there, Reina, I don't know if you know of any. I've yet to find anything in Slovenia for a granola bar. I find fruit jerky like that. That's okay, but I haven't really found much. Creative Nature is a fantastic brand in the UK. I'm hoping they spread across Europe. But other than that, Karina, can you think of any in Europe?
We take a huge Tupperware of Creative Nature bars, and we take them everywhere. And they don't they're great because they don't melt, and they stay intact, and we just take them all the time. That's what we use. I don't know. I and also Made Good. That's our two main safe bars that we take.
Yeah, great options. Okay, experiences in Ireland and Germany. Karina, you have experience in Ireland, right? And Germany. Didn't you live in Germany?
I lived in Germany for, for well, this was 20 years ago, so this was before I knew about food allergies. But I am hoping to go back soon, maybe next year. So I will have a more recent update, but it was a long time ago when I lived in Germany. And also Ireland, I haven't been to Ireland with food allergies either, so I'm not sure.
Well, I can speak to Germany in terms of like over the top tourist area in Germany because I went to Munich for Christmas markets 2 Christmases ago. So I did like you couldn't be any more tourists. I don't think there was any Germans around. But we went to these giant beer halls where they do the sauerkraut and they do sausage. And I had to be very conscious of my mustard allergy there. So that was the one that was concerning the most. But I found the labeling fine on the menus. Beers were way too much beer in terms of the quantity, but the sausages were great. And I really enjoyed the simple meals that were offered there. And it was consistently sauerkraut and sausage. And I had no issues there. French fries on the streets. I didn't find the oils were of concern for me. It wasn't Oktoberfest. It was Christmas time, Christmas markets, which was very special. A lot of hot wine on the streets. Very merry time to be there in Germany. I really enjoyed it. I've never been to Oktoberfest, but I guess the beer never really stops outside of Oktoberfest, is what I've found, and the sausages are always there. Ireland I haven't been to, but it is EU, so it's same should apply there. Jess asks, I've heard that Italy is good for celiacs. Is it true? Yes. Yeah. When I've gone to Italy, I've often found that I am on the outside looking in, where family members who have celiac disease are getting the pizzas, or getting the sweets, or getting all of these wonderful things. and I find it very difficult for me personally in Italy to eat as well as someone who has celiac disease. I am sticking to my basics versus Italy. There's a lot of options um, for wonderful things. Barcelona, Vivian, it's been over a decade for me. Um, Anybody have a good experience in Barcelona? It's Spain. They have EU laws there. It's very touristy, so I would assume it's very, very accommodating. I've not heard differently. But again, Vivian, what I would recommend is go onto the Allergy Travels group, and there on Facebook group, you have a search function. If you just type in Barcelona, you're probably going to get 20 different threads of people discussing Barcelona with allergies, different restaurant recommendations. So I'd really recommend going there.
Jess, I've included a couple of links in the chat as well there, which are helpful.
All right, it is last call for questions. We've got a couple minutes left. I'm going to get into some resources, but really appreciate you all coming today. Thanks, Rachel. I've not been to Barcelona, but in other parts of Spain last year, a friend with celiac, and it's been very safe. It'd be good for my son too, due to the prevalence of salted ham as a menu. Okay, excellent. How do you research medical emergency contact numbers? Great question, Vivian. Across the world, it is different. You have the 911 in North America and a lot of South America, 112 across Europe, 999. I always get this mixed up, Karina. It's 999 in the UK, correct?
That's correct. Yes, 999
000
in the
in
UK.
Australia. So where do you research that? I would say a Google search is a good starting point. There should be a good directory. Maybe that's something we include on Equally. I don't know. It could change though too. So I think that's just something just search up country emergency number, but it should be very simple. But yeah, 112 is the number for Europe, across Europe, which will get you emergency services. I have called 112 before, not for allergy emergency, but I was very relieved right away when they speak in their native language and you say, "Hi, do you speak English?" And they're, "Yes, of course." So from my experience, English, they're trained in my calls to 112 for other emergencies to handle in English. Lastly, I just want to provide some final motivation is that, as we know, it is not easy. We were on a webinar specifically about this topic because it's hard. There's a lot to know, but it is doable. And I find with an international trip coming up for myself next week, um, there's some caution. There's some nerves that are happening in my head, and I am taking my steps a week well in advance to make sure that I'm going to protect myself. I've got my cards ready, my allergy cards. I've got my safe food. I've got my insurance. I'm ready. And I'm not going to let these old allergies that I've been dealing with for so many years stop me from seeing this beautiful world. I do think it's important to go at your own pace. If you haven't traveled internationally before, that's fine. You don't have to. I do think places like London, going to England is a great starting point where there's no language barrier at least, and there's great allergy things set up already for awareness and restaurant success. That's a great starting point. But go at your own pace. You don't need to go across the world right away, but planning is key. So hopefully that tip sheet, the checklist, you can take a look at that. Other resources to consider. Got Ali Bond, who is the co-admin of the Allergy Travels group. She does individualized coaching that can really help you on that personal level, plan a trip, get comfortable. For celiac, I know Cataline, who's on our Equal Eats team, she's got celiac in Italy, celiac in Europe. She's now helping people travel around Europe. We have Ellen, who's on our call, who does comprehensive travel agency support for people with celiac disease, glutenfreevacations.com, food allergy getaways. It's so wonderful. There's amazing support now to actually help you plan a whole trip, start to finish. So appreciate people like Ellen for doing that. And of course, the Allergy Travels group, which is 26,000 people ready to help chime in, give you advice and suggestions. Equal Eats, if you haven't ordered a card, Use the code WELCOME and you'll get a discount, 10% discount off your order. Google Translate can be really helpful in giving you a starting point for ingredients if you want to scan and translate in real time. And if you're looking for a starting point, reviews, safe places, other people have had success. Spoken is a wonderful app that can give you that crowdsourced stuff. Find Me Gluten Free is another app that can be helpful. TripAdvisor, I love searching through reviews for the word allergy and see what people have said. Ninke, I see that you joined within like 5 minutes left in the webinar. I saw that, like, oh no, I guess that you're probably missed the time, so I get it. This is gonna be recorded, and I'll send you the recording. I'll send everybody who registered for this the recording afterwards, so you didn't miss anything. But thank you for joining at the very end. We'll make sure that you see the recording afterwards. And lastly, I just want to put out, this is month 4 or 5 of doing this monthly drop-in thing. So I want to just put in one more poll. Was this helpful? How do you feel about international travel after this webinar? Feeling a little bit more confident, same, less confident? This is just helpful for us to know if this is worthwhile. Okay. Well, 100% of you said more confidence. So that's really great. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming. We'll probably do this again. Maybe we'll do it on another area of the world. I'm going to Latin America next week, so maybe that will be the next one. We'll see. If there's any other ideas, feel free to put them in chat. As always, you can just email me. It's kyle@equaleats.com. Say hey. Always open to ideas. At Equal Eats, we're adding languages all the time, just based on your feedback and different allergens, changing our cards. So thank you, Karina, for all of your help, your wisdom today, stories, advice, and thank you everybody else for joining. Really appreciate your time today and wishing you success for the rest of the summer with your meals, with any travels that you have, and hopefully you just get a little bit of R&R and some sunshine at some point before the school year begins. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you for joining.
Take care. Bye-bye.